I am live. Today is Thursday. It's the 26th of September 2026. 25? What is that? Many lifetimes. I'm in chapter 8. This chapter is written by Kelsey. He was husband of Joan Marshall Grant, and they collaborated in this book describing their cases because they're both therapists. I'm here now. I last reading I did was the third, which would make this the fourth, but I'm not absolutely sure. I will check that and put it in the title when I upload it on YouTube. In the course of this attrition, both parties tend to become embittered with life in general. Their capacity for bearing grudges, for seeking revenge, for feeling jealousy and indulging the other corrosive attitudes increase through constant exercise, and so they reach the grave as two thoroughly soured personalities. I don't know whether I said this was entitled Parenthood. Now, if their deaths were followed by the extinction of the personality, such lives would have been sad enough. But in fact, to the best of my understanding, the implications are far more serious. Instead of resolving the relevant problems in their personalities, they have added to them, for one must always remember that the source oldster is only too likely to reappear as a sour baby. As a sour that the sour oldster is only too likely to reappear as a sour baby. It may be objected that I have painted too gloomy a picture of the hazards of parenthood. It must be biased because, as a psychiatrist, the majority of people I see are those who have succumbed to stress, and that the couples whose lives have been infinitely enriched by their children have passed me by. It is true that in this chapter I have not been concerned with the joys of parenthood, for these have been publicized often enough. It is also true that I have never been asked for an appointment by a stranger who was enjoying life to the full, and felt a sudden urge to drop in and tell me so. The psychiatrist, however, does not spend his entire life in this consulting room. In the course of each year, he probably makes as many social contacts as anyone else. But while he can switch off any tendency to look at people with a professional eye, he cannot avoid being aware of certain nuances of speech and behavior which might escape someone with a different training. Assuming that my account of the hazards of parenthood is not exaggerated, what practical suggestions arise? In the first place, prospective parents should strive to contemplate the undertaking purely intellectually. They must appreciate that as our society becomes ever more complex, the trials of parenthood become more difficult and more prolonged. Technology is advancing so rapidly that the time which a young man or woman may be compelled to spend in the capacity of a student is constantly increasing, while subjects of which the father knew nothing about may be part of the curriculum of a schoolboy. This is one of the factors which tend to cause the young, rightly or wrongly, to hold their parents in scant respect and to be susceptible to the dubious weapon of parental authority. But it may not be easy for a couple to take a dispassionate view of their potentialities as parents in face of the various influences which may be brought to bear on them. If they show no sign of producing a child after 2 or 3 years of marriage, they may evoke either suspicion that all is not well between them, or mutterings that they are failing in their duty to society. In view of the universal alarm over the population explosion, it is difficult to imagine what this duty is supposed to be. But that this totally unrealistic feeling persists is shown by the fact that couples who have demonstrated their ability to breathe are accorded a status which tends to be denied to the childless. In fact, a child is often seen as a status symbol of the parent's adulthood and of their worth as a citizen. I have even known couples who frankly admitted that they had a child only so as not to feel outdone by their neighbors. Potential grandparents are another source of pressure, which urges a young couple to start a family without a delay. On two occasions during the wedding reception, I've heard the bride's mother express the hope that there would be a baby on the way before the end of the honeymoon. In one instance, I have little doubt that this ill considered hope represented the mother's reaction to the void that would be caused by her daughter's departure. And another, I think it was based on a muddle headed belief that a child would necessarily cement the marriage. The pressure exerted by potential grandparents on a son is usually not so immediate, but sooner or later they may demand from him an heir to carry on the line. An heir may have financial advantages in cases of entailed property, but it is otherwise of very little significance since the most can be perpetuated is a certain number of physical characteristics, a far too trivial reason for encouraging a couple to embark on a task for which they may be quite unsuited. A variation for the longing for heirs is a hazy notion that descendants are a kind of passport to immortality. This, of course, is nonsense. Immortality lies within oneself. Obviously, we all hope to be remembered with affection by the people we know, but the fact of blood relationship makes this neither more likely nor more valuable. I cannot emphasize too strongly that the arrival of a child does not necessarily strengthen the benign link between a couple. On the contrary, it may distort this link beyond repair, or even turn it into fetters. It takes both time and effort to develop a link which is sufficiently strong to be punished instead of corroded by parenthood. So it would be a step in the right direction if it became a social death to start a baby during the first 2 years of marriage. There is no reason whatever why a couple should feel obliged to have a child. There are already too many people in the world, and there is a genius waiting to come in. There will never be a shortage of fertilized ovum from which he can choose. In developing their relationship with one another, a couple may well be doing all that in this particular lifetime they have set out to do. And a couple who radiate their happiness are an asset to the community of incalculable value. So, so far I have tried to outline the motives for having a child, which, from the standpoint of the prospective parents, I view with concern. One could summarize these motives by saying that any couple are in danger if they are relying upon gaining from their child whatsoever. I know very well they may gain a great deal. They may gain his sincere appreciation of what they have done for him and his permanent affection. They may gain profound gratification from having contributed to the development of an individual who makes very many people thankful that he was born. But the hard fact is that even the most wise and loving parents may get nothing except the satisfaction of knowing that they performed a task to the best of their ability. I am sure that it is important for parents to realize that their child does not owe them anything. It is not incumbent upon him to make any return for what he has received from them. His duty lies in handing on what they taught him to other children. To other children, including his own if he sees fit to have any, and to the world at large. Lest I seem to be emphasizing that parenthood entails great sacrifices, let me explain that this is in no way my intention. A doctor may grumble. I was called out of bed 3 times last night, and the week before I had to miss the last act of an enthralling play. But even before he embarked on his career, he knew that such things would inevitably happen. If he finds that he is beginning to think in terms of sleep sacrificed or a theatre sacrificed, then he is no longer where his heart is, and would be well advised to seek a different niche. Parenthood, no less than medicine, will impose a pattern of life upon its practitioners, and if a couple foresee aspects of this pattern as involving sacrifices, they would be wiser not to embark upon it. So I'll finish this here and continue the rest soon.